Anyways, yes, that sounds good. Do we have any... This is chapter 4 of The Custody of Angus McDonald by Blueshine. This is a continuation of the canon timeline from the Adventure Zone Balance, in which Angus is currently undergoing a custody battle between his two aunts, which you have been introduced to in this fic, Lauren and Violet, and Taco, you know, from TV. That's his full name. I don't... It's actually... Taco's full name is ambiguous and never actually quite defined on the show, so that's why he's listed as just Taco, the Adventure Zone. Alright, so we... there's nothing super explicit RE violence, but there's emotional manipulation and poison involved, so... We're on chapter 4 of 30. I don't know when the fucking poison's gonna come in. That seems like a later in the fic sort of dealio.
I don't think it's in this chapter. I skimmed through it, so...
Okay, cool. And for this chapter, we have Barry's not bad as a lawyer. Taco panics. This is emotions as evidence. Take it away, Janaya.
Actually, you said you were going to do narration. Unless you want me to, that's...
Okay, yeah, I'll do it. The judge already favored Aunt Violet because she was a blood relative of Angus. Aunt Lauren wasn't held in high regards, but she was ahead of Taco. It baffled the public. Taco? From TV? There's no way. Of course, this meant the trial had a large audience. Strangers wanted to ask Angus how he felt, but Magnus kept a tight grip on the kid. Both of the aunt's lawyers were dragging Taco through the mud, trying to take him out of the running as early as possible. They brought up a conversation on the Rockport Limited when Taco and his friends told Angus it was easy to murder. When Angus claimed it was very easy to not murder, Taco told him that everyone has dry spells. They brought up how Taco threw Angus off of a moving train. They brought up the fact that Taco couldn't answer Stone of Far Speech when Angus really needed it, once while they were fighting Hodgepodge and once after Barry destroyed his stone. They brought up how Taco left Angus unattended at just the Beheader's wrestling show, putting the boy directly into harm's way. They brought up the incessant amount of teasing, jabbing, and bullying of Angus MacDonald. The question had shifted from who should take custody of Angus MacDonald to should Taco even be allowed alone with the boy? Which is a very good question, honestly, given the way that Taco behaves during the podcast. Taco's... also, fact for Janaya and anybody else who hasn't listened to the Adventures in Balance arc. We are post-Balance arc, so I'm going to assume that we've passed the spoilers for the ending of Balance arc in terms of, like, shit happening here. But for Janaya, the, one of the features of the Adventure Zone Balance is an alien that can rebroadcast ideas, like concepts, if not memories, out to the population at large, as well as erase them from literally everyone in the universe. So the events of the podcast, the Adventure Zone Balance, were beamed into the minds of all of the residents of the universe in which the Adventure Zone Balance takes place in. So everyone knows everything that happens during the events of Taco's and his friends' lives. Not... Angus, but Taco. So that's what they're drawing from here. Everybody knows literally exactly what happens.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Again, odds that Griffin McElroy has never read Homestuck.
Yeah, you know, he says anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Taco sat in his seat, listening to all of these things that he was very guilty of being read off. He wasn't in a suit today. This hearing had an audience, and Taco had a brand to keep up on. Usually, he would be fine with an audience, but he was more nervous here than in the preliminary meeting. Everybody stared at him in between statements. Normally, he would love to be stared at, but... They're worried you're here, whispered Barry. They know you're his favorite. Barry and Loop had taken a sudden interest in helping Taco. Tate! Stop licking your paws. Stop it. Lift your head up off your paws, Tate. Hey. Yeah, you. I don't want to have to give you special paw baths because you get yeast infections in your paws, Tate. You can't understand anything I'm saying. I'm just saying your name over and over again. Okay.
Or Tate.
Yeah, basically. Barry and Loop had taken a sudden interest in helping Taco. They didn't explain why. It took a bit of convincing for Taco to accept help, but he agreed once he realized they weren't going to slick back his hair as a prank anymore. Loop promised not to come to court until she had her body back. Didn't want to scare the jurors. Loop is a lich. Just sidebar. Barry had taken... No, we covered that the last chapter. You knew that.
We did, but there might be new listeners in the audience.
Yeah. They're just regrowing her body because Barry's a necromancer. Casually. Barry... he regrew his own body, too. He's also a lich. He's just got a body right now. Barry had taken time out to study how Faerun ran his courts and how people won past custody cases. Taco had bullshitted himself out of lots of situations, but he had a feeling that wouldn't work here. Thankfully, Barry was enough of a nerd to come up with a good defense. Barry stood from his seat. You're taking those situations out of context.
They're a context for almost murdering my nephew.
Violet interrupted. Her lawyer cut in.
Please, you must let him say his defense. I apologize,
she said, dabbing her eyes with a handkerchief in a practice motion.
It's just so much.
Taco rolled his eyes. Bullshit. After waiting a moment to make sure there weren't any more outbursts, Barry started his defense. I understand your concern, but let's look at this logically. Angus boarded the train and came to the Bureau of Balance's moon base of his own will. He was aware there was a serial killer on the Rockport Limited. He's been trained to handle those situations. He had a crossbow on his person for self-defense. Taco was the first person on the Rockport mission to trust Angus and give him information. Information that allowed him to help catch the serial killer. Every other time you claim Angus was in danger, he was actually under Lucretia's watch, and never alone. Barry paused for a moment, looking to Taco before continuing. This world isn't in danger anymore. I doubt Angus will come across situations that will put him in a fraction of the amount of danger he's faced before. If Taco could keep Angus alive while collecting the grand relics, I think taking care of him domestically would be a cakewalk. Something about hearing Barry say domestically made Taco's head spin.
He still threw the boy off the train,
said Lauren's lawyer. Barry raised an eyebrow. Would you prefer Angus stay boarded on a train that was going to crash? The jurors murmured amongst themselves, generally agreeing with Barry.
Putting aside the literal murder and child endangerment, he's still rude to the boy,
said Violet's lawyer, cutting off the chatter from the jurors. You can't judge Taco for how he treated Angus before the Voidfish broadcast, Barry said. I'd argue he wasn't even the same person.
Not as if the Voidfish took away his morals,
said Lauren's lawyer. The jurors seemed to agree with her. That's not true. You know that as well as anybody. Unless you didn't hear the broadcast. Barry had to turn this back around to their favor quick, but the judge and jury were back on the outside. Being separated from his sister affected him in a lot of ways, more than I could list in a reasonable amount of time. The judge cut in.
Please, use more recent evidence. The court is judging him as a guardian now, not 100 years ago.
Fine. Barry thought for a moment and then turned over to where Angus was sitting. Angus, when is Magic Day? Every Thursday, sir, Angus answered, his eyes lighting up. So, tomorrow? Hello. Wait, hang on, I need to... Hello, sirs. There we go. So, tomorrow? He looked expectantly towards Taco. Taco grinned, picking up on what Barry was getting at. Hell yeah, we've got to work on your magic missile.
Excuse me, what is Magic Day?
Lauren asked, annoyed. Taco is my magic mentor, and Magic Day is when we go over spells I need to practice over the next week. He offered to teach me one day, and I wasn't sure if he was serious, because he had done some elaborate bits to tease me. But he hasn't missed a single lesson, and his feedback is very helpful. The jury seemed to like that answer. The judge did too, and asked Angus to come up to the podium.
Would you consider Taco a good teacher?
Angus hopped over to the podium, speaking cheerfully. He was a good teacher before, but now that he's remembered all of his magic, he's even better. And he puts the goofs away during lessons, except for one time when I did goof on him. Sometimes, when I'm still figuring out a spell, it's a little nerve-wracking, and I can't get it right, but he's very patient when I do that. The judge turned to Taco.
How is Angus as a student?
Taco was hesitant to answer. He never experienced stage fright, but the way the entire court looked at him today... he makes progress quicker than I thought he would. It sucks when he reads ahead and learns spells on his own, because then I have to make a new lesson plan on the fly. But that's not even a problem for a bum-ass wizard like I am. But whatever, he's basically the perfect student. He's probably going to be the second best wizard on the planet in, like, a year. Angus was beaming. Taco didn't like the way the court was looking at him, but they seemed pleased to hear his answer.
Angus and I love crocheting together,
Aunt Violet said. A lawyer nudged Lauren, who frantically spoke up.
Yeah, and he used to be a big help in the office when I had him.
The judge was ignoring both of the aunts.
Taco, do you enjoy teaching Angus?
I mean, yeah, he's a smart kid. No complaints here. It was a short answer, and the court kept looking at him like he should elaborate, but Taco didn't budge. Nope, not going to get personal in a fucking courtroom. There were journalists here. The papers wouldn't let him hear the end of it. Well, that put a damper on the court's favor to Taco. Thankfully, Barry was able to pick up some of the slack and gain some more favor to Taco. The court adjourned for a 10-minute recess shortly after. Magnus took Angus into one of the side rooms, away from his aunts and Taco. The lawyers went to go speak to their respective aunts. Barry took Taco outside. Taco, please. You have to put in some emotional persuasion in here. You almost got everyone onto your side, but... It's none of their business. It kind of is. You're convincing people to let you take care of a child? Barry frowned. He was trying to be sympathetic, but Taco needed to pull his weight too. Ugh, this wouldn't have been a problem on the Star Blaster. You don't need to get into painful details, but a little bit of charm would help. I'll figure it out, sure. Taco crossed his arms. It hurt Barry to see him so closed off like this. He seemed fine in most casual settings. Hell, he was even flirting with death. Everything was great until pressure was put on, and then Taco was cut off, shut down, closed for business. And he'd been like this ever since he picked up Angus's case. When everyone returned after recess, the subject turned away from Taco. At the very least, hearing about the magic lessons allowed the jury to consider Taco as a possible candidate. They didn't come to a decision. Nobody wanted to move it too quickly. Angus McDonald was a very important child. This needed to be treated carefully. The judge decided this case needed a few special investigations, but needed time to put the whole operation together. The next court date would be in a week. Magnus walked Angus out of the courthouse after Lauren and Violet said goodbye to Angus. Neither of them were being genuine. Angus could tell. He saw Taco and Barry talking outside and ran up to them. Sirs? The two of them froze. Looks like Angus caught them in the middle of something important. Barry spoke up first. Hey, Angus. Are you getting through this okay? Yes, it's not too hard to watch. Angus turned to address Taco. I, appreciate what you said about me, sir, when you were talking about the lessons. Something was off about him. Angus wanted to ask a few questions, but Taco had been acting sickly since recess. It was best to just let him be. No use in pushing him, that would just make him defensive. Although, Taco did ruffle Angus's hair a bit before he left. Angus ran off with Magnus. Taco watched him leave, and of course that horrible feeling came back to strike him in the heart. Barry and Taco walked back in silence. Loop asked how the trial went. Fine. He must have looked uncomfortable, because Barry shook his arm, asking, You okay, Taco? Taco shrugged him off, leaving the room. Yeah, peachy. Gotta go lay down. Loop and Barry knew better than to try to reason with him, but having to sit on the sidelines while Taco sifted through his problems killed them. First thing Loop was going to do when she got her body back, harass her brother into telling her what the fuck was going on in his head. Until then, she just had to float there. Face down in his bed, Taco couldn't sleep. Definitely couldn't meditate. Head was too foggy. He considered calling somebody on his stone, but honestly, fuck other people right now. This is Taco time. A million thoughts swarmed through his head, all of them bad. He was sweating. His arms were shaking. Good thing he locked the door, because there's no way Barry could see this. If Loop flew through the wall now... No, don't even think about it. He didn't know what this was, but he just felt sick. Ever since he heard Angus vent about his aunts, he felt sick. It felt too familiar. That's okay. That's interesting. That's an intriguing way to end that fucking chapter, because that's a line from the Mabim Bam theme song also. The opening lines are, "It's familiar, but not too familiar, but not too not familiar." And like that's it's a cute song, but I'm just like, huh, that's probably coincidental.
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a pretty